What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another Battlefield 6 gun guide. In today's episode, I had quite a few people asking about the SGX, so we're going to be diving deep into the stats of that SMG, and toward the end, I'm going to be sharing a couple excellent attachment combinations that I really like using. And starting it off, as always, let's have a look at our raw power potential, and our rate of fire is pretty much average for an SMG, although quite fast relative to the other categories in the game at 830 rounds per minute. And with this gun, it ranges from a 4 to 9 shot kill to the body, depending on the range, and there are 5 different damage ranges, which is pretty normal for an SMG in this game. And with the SGX, it's got a great time to kill potential up close in that 4-shot kill range at 217 milliseconds. This is one of the faster killing SMGs up close. However, the main thing to point out here is after that third damage range at 37.5 meters, this is where it drops immediately from a 6-shot kill all the way to an 8-shot kill. So it skips that 7-shot kill range, and therefore we see a pretty big jump in our time to kill potential at that point. And therefore it's just important to recognize this range drop-off point, since this is where you're going to be seeing a drastic reduction to your raw power. Also, when it comes to headshots, in the first 3 damage ranges, headshots are really not worth going for, in my opinion, with this gun. You just need to mix too many in order for it to make a difference. However, beyond that 37.5 meters, this is where headshots are suddenly really good. You only need to mix 1 headshot in to reduce the number of shots to kill, and so it can absolutely help in those scenarios. Now, as for the actual range comparison, we've got the exact same damage range drop-off points as all of the other SMGs, with one exception being the MP7 or PW7A2. So that means our maximum damage range is only 9.5 meters, that's quite close. Then our second damage range is 21.25 meters, third damage range 37.5 meters, and then finally our last damage range drop-off is at 75. As for our muzzle velocity, this is quite slow even for an SMG, and SMGs don't excel in this area already, and yet this is one of the worst. Our muzzle velocity is only 402 meters per second, and as a result, if you are trying to stretch your ranges out, which you'll see in a bit, the recoil will often allow you to do that, you may notice in those situations that bullet velocity will be holding you back. You have to lead moving targets a little bit more. You may have to aim a little high as well to compensate for that bullet drop, so definitely just a weakness you want to be aware of with this gun. As for key strength though, we have our hip fire, and the SMGs absolutely excel in this area, so feel free to hip fire plenty with this gun. It's going to treat you very well in this area. Then after that, let's have a look at our recoil and our base spread. And as we can see here with the SGX, there's not a ton of recoil. It's quite easy to control this. It kicks upward with a lean to the right. It's very consistent with that recoil pattern. Doesn't have a very high magnitude to it. And when it comes to spread, there's definitely a little more spread there compared to many of the other SMGs, and that may hold you back if you're really trying to stretch your ranges out well beyond where you should normally be using an SMG. But even saying that, I still find that I can stretch out fairly comfortably with this SMG, just like with most of the SMGs out there, and hit my target quite consistently. Now, after that, let's have a look at our handling stats. And for our aim down sight and sprint out times, these are just standard for SMGs at 167 milliseconds and roughly 150 milliseconds respectively, so quite fast in both of those areas, and definitely a nice benefit over most of the other weapon classes in the game. But then beyond that, for the SGX, it's basically just standard. We have a regular magazine capacity at 30 rounds, our reload time is basically just a normal reload time at 2.52 seconds, or 2.23 seconds if you're using one of the fast mags. And then finally, for our base stats for multiplayer at least, we have our mobility stats, which are the same across all of the SMGs, and unsurprisingly, we do have the best mobility out of the primary weapons at least. While our walking speed, sprint speed, and crouch sprint speed is pretty much standard compared to the others, it's our aim walking speed where we get a very notable benefit relative to the other weapon classes at 2.6 meters per second. And with that out of the way, let's now move into our basics section on REDSEC. Against 2 armor plates, the SGX will be an 8 to 15 shot kill depending on your range, and 15 shots is a lot, but that's at quite a bit of a distance. And what this means is our time to kill potential ranges from 506 milliseconds right up close and personal within that first 9.5 meters, which is a very impressive time to kill value, but it ranges all the way up to over a second to kill a player with no missed shots. This is your theoretical time to kill. And realistically, you are going to be missing shots at those longer ranges as well. So, as expected with an SMG, it's very good up close in REDSEC, but practically useless if you stretch your ranges out too far. And with all of that covered, I wanted to share a couple of my favorite attachment combinations to use with the SGX, and the first one is my go-to. This is my all-arounder. With this, we've got the OSA 7 optic, the CQB suppressor so we can stay off the radar, and I'm not hurting my hipfire spread at all, so it just keeps it nice and effective at hip firing. For our barrel, we've got the extended barrel, which will bump our muzzle velocity up to 502 meters per second. That's still not an amazing velocity value in this game, but it is a nice step up from the base at least, and that definitely helps. For our underbarrel, we've got the 6H 6-4 vertical, which is going to help quite nicely with recoil, and you can definitely see that recoil pattern is compressed nicely compared to the base recoil plot. Then for our magazine, I'm using the 36 round mag. It's nice to have those extra rounds in the mag. And then finally, we're just topping it off with the standard ammo. And this is just an excellent all-arounder in my eyes. This one suits my playstyle very well. I feel very confident in close quarter situations, and I also feel fairly comfortable stretching my range out with this, as long as I'm acknowledging the raw power does drop off drastically at range. So I do have to be a bit selective about those fights, but if I see an enemy that's not really paying much attention to me and they're at a fairly long range, I'll take that fight. So that's the first one, and the one I'll be using most of the time. However, just recently, I did some testing on the attachments that help with our aim down sight spread while moving in a gunfight. And in that, I discovered that it can be quite powerful to build in that direction, so that's where I'm going with the second build. It is going to be quite similar in the sense that we're still using the OSA 7 optic, my personal favorite. We've got the CQB suppressor on there, as well as the standard ammo and the 36 round mag. The key differences here, though, are one, the light barrel instead of the extended barrel. So this is going to be helping us with that aim down sight accuracy while strafing. And then finally, we're topping it off with the 50 milliwatt blue laser, which also helps in that area. And it also gives us a nice boost to our hip fire spread, which is just a nice bonus on top of that. So this one's a bit better at hip firing compared to the previous build, and it's much better at strafing in a gunfight. So with this one, I don't have to worry about planting my feet. I can strafe side to side as much as I want in a gunfight and still feel quite confident that I'm going to be hitting my shots if my point of aim is on point. So that's just a nice alternative if you want to be like hyper aggressive with this and you don't want to have to worry about strafing. In saying that, the recoil isn't quite as good as the previous build, so when it comes to really stretching those ranges out, I actually lean in the direction of the previous one. Also, the extended barrel of the previous one helps there. But those are my two preferred setups with the SGX. Both of them are excellent, and when it comes to my final thoughts on this gun, I love it. This is one of my personal favorites in the entire game. I'm definitely more of an SMG player. I like playing very aggressively, really getting right up into the action, and the SGX handles itself very well. It's a nice, powerful, and versatile SMG, and if you haven't really used it much yet, I would highly recommend giving it a go. Now, of course, those are just my thoughts and opinions on the SGX based on my experience as well as the raw stats, and this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How do you feel about the SGX? Do you guys agree with me? Do you think this is one of the better guns in the entire game? Or maybe not. Are there some other SMGs that you would rather use over this one? Just let me know down below. Also, once again, as I've been saying with the recent episodes, I am open to suggestions for future episodes, and I have been largely following that. So if I see a trend of several people mentioning a particular gun that I haven't covered, then it will likely get bumped to the top of the list. If you guys enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.